My biggest takeaway from the presentation today would have to be how to utilize your inner self. Well, I'm not going to say inner self. I'll say take your inner turmoils and find ways to overcome it so that you're still rising to the occasion as an educator. But I feel like that also can go along with all things that you're doing in life and all different relationships that you have. And that's kind of what it brought me back to, is remembering, like, just as much as I want my relationships outside of school to be beneficial, I need those same relationships with my students. So I need to always make sure that as much as I want to love and be loved, I need to do that with my students as well.
My biggest takeaway from the presentation had to make me think about why I am an educator. There have, as you know, in the pandemic, we were closed in, and then you come back into the building and the kids are different. It made me think about why I'm here. Why is my passion to be an educator? The presentation made me think about myself when I was a child, and to be in that atmosphere made me really think about why and who I am, why my education, who I am as in the education area.
My biggest takeaway from today's presentation, definitely the overall idea, which was about relationships, but about the type of relationships that you are keeping in your life. They presented to us in a long list of questions to ask ourselves, and about the people that we are keeping close to us. Are they able to answer yes to all these questions? And the biggest thing at the bottom of the screen is that the people who you can answer yes to all these things are your real friends. If they're not your real friends, then they're your acquaintances. That was a major, major thing for me, because it's about the people you keep around. It's about the company you keep.
So I'm not per se in the classroom. I'm a student advocate here at Imagine Lincoln. What I would implement, not being in the classroom, but also working with the teachers, is to try to have the teachers and make sure that they need to be more patient, even myself, with our scholars, because you have to think about what if that was you in that predicament or in that seat. I always thought about that when I was in the classroom for over 10 years. I always thought about the child that was always messing up, always having the bad behavior. I thought about me when I was in that child's seat. How would my teacher, how could I make it differently how my teacher was treating me? So therefore, I always ask the teacher, always put yourself in that seat of that child.
One thing I will work to implement in my classroom that I thought was very important was taking a step into my kids' lives, not focusing so much on trying to get to the lesson and trying to get through everything that I planned. But if a child is trying to tell me about something that happened over the weekend, or something that happened at the dinner table yesterday, or something that's on their mind that was weighing heavy on their mind this morning, I should take that into account, because it may play a major role in their behavior or the personality that they decide to give me that day.
I will definitely work to implement being more personable with my students. I feel like I do pretty good in general of making it known to my students that I do care. But I feel like sometimes I can dig deeper, especially to those students who sometimes need a little more love than others. There are students that sometimes we may not always get along with, or may not always be happy with in the moment, but showing them that love regardless, and finding ways to overcome the hard days and to always show up and let them know that I love them regardless. Because I do remember in the video that was shown to us that there were some days where, even though the teacher said I love all my students, realistically speaking, some days some students would notice a little more love than others. So making sure that, even those particular scholars who are having a rough days, or you have rough days with, know that you love them at the end of the day and you show up for them no matter how the day before was.
I most certainly would recommend the presentation to others. First of all, I would like to say that the actual presentation itself, the physical slides, were very well put together. They were beautiful. But I would certainly recommend the presentation because it was a learning experience, not just for me, but for everybody in the room. It made us, as educators, as people inside the building, the school building, reevaluate ourselves, take a step back and look at ourselves as a whole. Because what we are is what we're pouring into the kids. And we need to make sure that we are not necessarily correct, but on the right path, in order before we try to help someone else.
I absolutely would recommend a presentation for others. As I stated during the PD, I felt like it was very helpful that the presenters talked to us like we were people and not just teachers. I feel like a lot of times in the realm of education, people get so caught up in numbers and data and schoolwork and just all the behind the scenes, the paperwork, that they forget that we are people at the core. And you can't perform your best as an educator if you're not your best self inside. So really making sure that people see you beyond just the teacher, but they see you as the person, they see you as the individual, they see you as the lover, they see you as the caretaker, so that when those parts of you are acknowledged, then you can also show up as a better educator. So with that being said, I definitely felt like it was beneficial to hear and to be seen as an educator beyond just the school portion of it. So that's definitely something I would recommend.
Yes, I will recommend this, the presentation for others. And I will not say this if it's not truthful. As an educator, we need to hear other educators talk to us that has been in that seat before. The presentation was phenomenal. They gave us points of how we should supposed to, or how we can interact with other children, especially behavior-wise. They also made us think about why the child would act that way, and would that child ever remember us down the future.